Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all well and welcome to another FPL video. Today it's time we talk about GW7. So we're gonna focus on this game week and I'm gonna show you guys my team and we're gonna look at the problems that it is facing at the moment, and we're gonna discuss about potential solutions that I'm looking for my team for the future and all of that. So as always, thanks everyone for watching the videos, I appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying the FPL season so far. There has been some entertaining games definitely in this season so far, and the FPL has been entertaining as well. For me personally, there has been some ups and downs. I'm not too happy with how my team looks at the moment and the rank that I have right now, but hopefully that's about to change and hopefully it's gonna start looking better from Game Week 7 and beyond. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Thanks everyone for watching and let's start with the video. So Game Week 6 is finished and it was quite an entertaining game week, I would say, with a lot of interesting games, especially the Sunday games. Saturday games were so-and-so's. I watched a couple of those of them, but they weren't as entertaining as usual. I watched Man City versus Nottingham Forest, then I watched Brentford versus Everton, and then Burnley versus Man United. Brentford versus Everton was the more entertaining game for these three. The other two were kinda slow, I would say, but the Sunday games sure did look better and a lot more interesting. So Arsenal versus Spurs, the North London derby, as always. You always know you're gonna get goals in this game, and to be honest, 2-2 is probably whenever I see these two teams that they are about to play a game, I always think of the 2-2 scoreline. I think it's the most realistic scoreline for this game, at least for me. And this week I also thought, when I was preparing my team, I had this scoreline 2-2 in my head, and that's the final scoreline of this game. So a very entertaining game with a couple of goals for both sides. Liverpool versus West Ham. Liverpool always, they tend to have entertaining games as well. Brighton also another team that it's enjoyable to watch, definitely. And to top it all off, at the last game of this game week, Newcastle scoring 8 goals, pretty much playing FIFA, I would say, at this point. This scoreline is a very unusual scoreline for the Premier League. It's something that I don't know, it's not expected. It's definitely weird, especially because Newcastle were away from home. I didn't see this coming, but to be fair, every season has one or two of these scorelines. I remember last season Liverpool, with their victory against Bournemouth, which was 9-0, I believe. The season before that, I can remember Man United also scoring 9 goals, I believe it was against Southampton. The season before that, Aston Villa scoring 7 against Liverpool. So these scorelines do happen, but it's almost impossible to predict which team is gonna do this. We always expect that to be Man City against a promoted side, but a lot of the times some other teams do make this do this score, and this season it was Newcastle and it was away from home, so that's the unusual part, but it was still a nice game to watch for a neutral. And yeah, so this was a very high scoring game week for most of FPL players. The overall average is quite high, but for me it was another disappointing game week where I scored below the average and I ended up on a red arrow. So I ended up this game week with 61 points, so very low considering the overall average is 68. Another disappointing game week, another very annoying game week in which my team did look decent at the start of it, but it just wasn't to be. and I'm losing my patience definitely. I have tried to be super patient at the start of this season, trying to not take any hits, any unnecessary hits, as long as my team had fit 11 starting players that had nice fixtures and all of that. So I tried to be patient, to not play my wildcard early and all of that, but I have to say at this point I have lost my patience and it's time to turn things around. So from GW7, from this game week I'm definitely gonna change my playstyle, so I won't be doing any more of this 1 or 2 free transfers and patiently waiting with my wildcard and hoping that the players that I have are going to turn things around and start performing. So instead, for game X7 my plan is to play more aggressive, so either I'm gonna use my wildcard this week or I'm gonna take a hit or two. That's the plan. So here is how the team performed in game X6. I have a couple of returns, mostly in the midfield, so 3 of my 4 midfielders got high amount of returns, so 10, 14 and 9 points. This is decent. All 3 of these players, oh no, Salah only got 1 return and 3 bonus points. The other 2 players got 2 returns. Son got 2 goals and Madison 2 assists. Also some returns in the defense as well. Man United finally kept a clean sheet. And Estupinian, as always, even though Brighton are a very bad defensive team and don't keep any clean sheets, he's always so attacking and always has a potential of getting an assist or a goal, so that's why he is an amazing player to have. But still, with all of these returns, like I said, a very disappointing game week, only 61 points for me. And the most annoying thing about this game week is the fact that I got the transfer wrong. So I was between Ben Chilwell to Botman and Oli Watkins to Julian Alvarez. I was deciding on one of these 2 transfers or both for a -4. In the end, I only transferred out Oli Watkins and I got in Julian Alvarez in his place, which turned out for this game week to be a bad transfer because Oli Watkins finally scored a goal for Aston Villa and Julian Alvarez blanked. It was unfortunate because this game against Nottingham Forest, I believe Man City were comfortably going to win this game 4 or 5-0. But obviously, as soon as the second half started, Rodri got red card, and after that everything changed. Julian Alvarez got an early sub off, and they had to defend the scoreline instead of playing their usual playstyle. So it was unfortunate. I'm hoping that in game X7 he has another nice fixture coming up against Wolves, and I hope that he will get some points in this game for me. If I don't end up wildcarding, if I end up wildcarding, he's probably going to be out of my team. But if I do keep him, I hope that he's going to get some returns in that week instead. So the real problems for me for this game week was the fact that I didn't have Saka or Mitoma, so 2 players that are very highly owned that both got 2 returns each. Saka got a goal and an assist and Mitoma got 2 goals. So these 2 players are one of the reasons for my red arrow, and also the fact that I didn't go for a Newcastle defender when a lot of people went with 1 or 2 of Botman, Trippier or whichever other defender, so that was a problem as well. And the reason I didn't go Chilwell to a Newcastle defender for a -4 this week was the fact that Ben Chilwell had a home game and Newcastle, even though it was a favorable fixture, it was away from home, so I thought that it's probably not worth taking a -4 hit. Looking at it from this point of view, I wish I did. I wish I got in Botman instead of Chilwell. My team would have looked a lot better at the moment, but yes, I suppose that was a mistake. from me. And now let's move to GW7. Here is how my team looks at the moment for GW7. So as you can see, I have put Cabora in my starting 11 for this week. He has a double gamic, and Everton away and Burnley at home. These are two good fixtures, even though Luton are by far, I would say, the weakest and the worst team in the league. But still, Cabora as a player has been quite attacking. Last week he got an assist as well, and who knows, maybe Luton could keep a clean sheet in one of these games, and even if they don't, if he starts both games, maybe he gets an attacking return, and I'm looking at 8 or 9 points, so he's a no-brainer for me. He's gonna come in the team for this week, and with that I could bench Joao Pedro for the moment, or I will transfer him out. So yeah, the rest of the team, I mean, it looks decent, but to be fair, my team has looked good in every gaming so far, but the points haven't been there. So here is my game plan for gaming 7. Like I said, I'm either gonna use my wildcard or I'm gonna take a hit or two to try to fix my team. And at the moment, the factor that's going to decide what I'm gonna do in this game week is going to be James Maddison's fitness, most likely. So James Maddison is a slight injury concern for this week. He has a knee injury that he got apparently during the Arsenal game when I don't remember which player, maybe it was Declan Rice or whatever, made a challenge on him. So I'm patiently waiting to see what's going to happen with James Maddison. I'm curious what their coach is gonna say if James Maddison is injured and is going. I don't think it's a serious injury, so I don't think he's gonna miss a bunch of games. But if he is out for the Liverpool game, even if it's only one game, I'm going to use my wildcard most likely, because in that case I would have an injured player in my starting 11, and I would have players like Ben Chilwell, Mbeumo, and Julian Alvarez, so players that I would like to transfer out, not to mention Joao Pedro as well. So sorry about that. So these are all players that I would like to transfer out, and if James Maddison is injured, then wildcard is going to be on the cards. If he's declared fit, then I might be able to save my wildcard for a couple more game weeks and make a hit or two to potentially change some things in my team and still be able to play a nice 11 for next week. So yeah, that's the game plan at the moment. So let's go through, or actually let's just start picking some players that I would use in case I wildcard this week, and then if I don't wildcard, I'm gonna just transfer in some of those players in my team either way. So if I do wildcard in game week 7, these are the players that I would remove. And like I said, James Maddison, if he's injured, I would remove my bench player from the midfield, and I would also remove Mbeumo, who has lost form recently, and I watched the Brentford game this weekend and I wasn't too happy with Mbeumo's positioning mostly. He was way too wide and he didn't really get into that many goal scoring positions. The only possible return that he could have had this week would have been an assist. But other than that, I don't remember any goal scoring opportunities, which is not good because he played Everton at home, which is a great fixture, and it's always a worry when a player that plays a team like Everton at home gets no chances to score a goal basically. So I'm worried about Mbeumo and about Brentford's form as a team. So definitely a player that I would look to transfer out in case I wildcard. Obviously Joao Pedro would have to go as well, and I would probably transfer out Julian Alvarez as well, because there are probably some other options. Maybe I rushed with this transfer. Maybe this transfer was a mistake, and I would rather have Oli Watkins in this spot at the moment, but that's it. It is what it is. I can't really change the past. So I would look to remove all of these players. I would keep Haaland, Salah and Son from my current team. And in the defense, I would remove Ben Chilwell and Bulldog. I would keep Estupinian. I would keep Udogie because this week he plays Liverpool and he has blanked in the past couple of game weeks, so 2 blanks in a row. But one thing I have to say, after Liverpool, he has a very nice run of fixtures. So in game week 8 they play Luton Town, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Wolves away. So these are all nice fixtures in which I expect Spurs to keep a couple of clean sheets, plus he's very attacking as well, and I could just easily bench him in game week 7 against Liverpool because I don't think Spurs are gonna keep a clean sheet in this one. So I'm looking to keep him in my team. Kabora I would keep because he has a double fixture in this week, and then he becomes a simple bench player. And I would also remove Onana and potentially Turner as well. So these are the players that would stay in my team if I do end up wildcarding. And let's just put some of the players that I would look to bring in the team. So let's start with the goalkeeper. The first goalkeeper I would add is Areola. Now I haven't decided who I would go for the second goalkeeper. I suppose I could, if I do need the funds for somewhere else, I could go super cheap and go with Areola and Turner, but that would probably mean I would have to play Areola most of the weeks because I don't rate Turner really. I have played him a couple of times this game week and he has conceded some very easy and cheap goals. So I suppose I could go for that combination, but I would rather go for Areola and a better goalkeeper than Turner, so a 4.5 goalkeeper. And let's go to this, to 4.5 goalkeeper. So I would rather go get a goalkeeper from this group, and that goalkeeper that rotates nicely with Areola. There are a couple of options here. So Neto from Bournemouth, he rotates surprisingly well with Areola. That's one player that I noticed that if I decide to go for rotating goalkeepers could be nice. I would basically, I believe, all the way up to game week 19 I would have a nice run of fixtures rotating these two players, so I wouldn't have to play a goalkeeper against a top 8 side all the way until game week 19. That's very nice. Other than that, obviously Leno is a good pick, but I think it might be too late for Leno. He seems to have picked up most of his points so far. This week he had a 10 pointer, so he was a nice pick to get for game week 6, but game week 7 it might be a little too late. I'm also potentially looking at the Crystal Palace goalkeeper Johnston. He is an interesting option as well, and he does rotate decently with Areola, and Crystal Palace are a decent defensive team, so he might be another player that I would look to add. So like I said, I haven't decided on the second goalkeeper spot, and I would have to think during this week. Now if we move into defense, basically the two defenders that I would add here are, let me just find them. One is, I would have to add a Newcastle defender, that would be Botman at the price of 4.7, and then I would also like to add an Aston Villa defender, which would ideally would be cash if I have the funds, so 4.7 he's worth as well. Aston Villa have a very nice run of fixtures coming up. This week I would bench cash because he plays Brighton at home. I could play him, it's not the end of the world, but I could also very easily bench him, and then from next week in this run of fixtures from game week 8 all the way until game week 14, he is a very nice pick to have. Him or some other Aston Villa defender. There are also some other potentially interesting defenders that I would look to maybe yet instead. So maybe I could look at on out of top of my head, maybe an Man United defender could be interesting. A player like Reguilon, only 4.5 million for the moment. He's nailed as long as Luke Shaw is injured. I believe he's going to start most of their games on the wing, and Man United have a nice run of fixtures coming up as well. Couple of home games in GW7 and 8. Then they play Luton as well, Everton, Sheffield United. So these are all nice fixtures. He could be an interesting differential option as well. And also I'm potentially looking at maybe a West Ham United defender as an interest, but I just realized I have Areola in this draft, so maybe not, maybe it's not worth doubling up. But they have a nice fixture in Game Week 8. They play Sheffield United at home, and Vladimir Kofal is another interesting and cheap option. He's only 4.5, and in the past 2 games he has had 2 assists, so he's very attacking, and West Ham are a very decent side as well. But for the time being, these are the 5 defenders that I think I would go for. Now if we move to the midfield, I would definitely go for 5 playing midfielders, and instead of 4 like I did at the start of the season. So the players I'm looking to add to this midfield are, first I'm looking to add a Man United midfielder. Marcus Rashford could be the one, but based on current form and points potential short term, I would say Bruno Fernandes is probably the better option, just better. So I would look to add him once again because Man United have a very nice run of fixtures coming up. Then I would look to add an Aston Villa midfielder potentially, so I'm talking Diaby. He's a player that I think is the best Aston Villa attacking option. I definitely rate him more than Oli Watkins, and he's the main reason why I decided to transfer out Oli Watkins last week, because I would look to add him long term for their nice run of fixtures instead. So I would look to add him in the midfield as well. And then for the last midfielder spot, I'm looking at one team specifically, West Ham United. This is the team that I would like to get an attacker from. I think West Ham are a very good team at the moment, and they have a very nice fixture in Game Week 7 against Sheffield United, and a nice run of fixtures after that as well. So there are a lot of points to be had here from a West Ham attacker. So Jarrod Bowen is the obvious option, but he's a little bit more expensive for my draft. For at the moment, the player I would like to get in my team would be Ward-Prowse, a very nice option in my opinion. You might say, why is that? So he's absolutely nailed, I believe, in the West Ham midfield. Last week was the only game week in which he blanked since joining the club, which is another good thing, because it means that he's going to keep being more of a differential player, so the focus won't be on him for this game week, and he has a potential to score lots of points against Sheffield United, because as we saw, Sheffield United are quite bad at defending set pieces. Newcastle showed us that, and Ward-Prowse, as you all know, he takes all the corners or all the free kicks. Plus, he plays quite offensively from open play. He could get a goal or assist from open play as well. So, like I said, he's a nailed player, and a player that I think is going to get loads of assists mostly. He's also gonna get a goal or 2 here and there. Let's not forget that he's probably the best free kick taker in the league, one of the better in the world at the moment. So this is a player that I'm looking to get in my team from West Ham, but Jarrod Bowen also works if I have the funds for him. And then for the 2 attacking positions, I would add Archer for my bench. That would be one choice, and then I'm left with the second attacking position, and in this spot I have a couple of players on my mind. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna go for, so let's just add a goalkeeper really quick so we know how much funds I have left. So let's go with Neto or some other 4.5 million goalkeeper. I'm left with 6.88 million in the bank. So for this price, let's go to the forwards. So I'm looking at a couple of interesting forward options. So who should I start? So one player that I'm looking to bring on my wildcard could potentially be an interesting option is Darwin Núñez, because he seems to have somewhat nailed his starting position with his recent form for Liverpool. Liverpool, after the Spurs game, they play Brighton, which is a great fixture for them to score lots of goals in. Then they have 2 home fixtures, and then they play Luton Town, so these are amazing fixtures for Liverpool to get a bunch of goals in. And I think that Darwin Núñez is going to play a lot of minutes in these games. Okay, he might not get 90 minutes, but even if he doesn't, I have noticed with him that even when he plays from the bench for 30 minutes, he still gets the chances and he still gets the opportunities. So he could be an interesting option for this spot. Other than him, Wilson would be an interesting option as well, obviously, but he is a little more expensive. He's 7.8 million, and we all have the rotation risk with him, but he's definitely a good option to add in this position. But if I do, I would have to downgrade somewhere else. I would have to find 1 extra million for him, and other than that, I'm potentially looking at another Man United player. So Højlund could potentially be an interesting option as well for the price of 7.1. I watched this game against Burnley, and Højlund was decent. He was close to scoring a couple of goals. He was a couple of inches away from basically getting a tap in one point from, I believe it was a Bruno assist. So plus he's nailed, let's not forget about that, and Man United have a very nice run of fixtures coming up. So I think this player could be a very good option at the price that he is set, 7.1 million only. There are potentially a lot of points coming from him, so he's another player that I would look to add in this spot. So maybe I would go with him. And obviously I have 0.3 million missing at the bank, but I would rotate some players around. Maybe I would downgrade Matikesh to another Aston Villa defender, so I would look at Pau Torres possibly as the most nailed, and then I would also only need to find 0.1 more million, or I could just leave Matikesh in the team and downgrade Neto to Turner, and I would have the funds that way. So this is the wildcard team that I'm looking to get for GW7 if I do end up wildcarding. And if I don't wildcard, then I would probably look to transfer in some of these players for a hit, most likely. So if James Maddison is declared fit, in that case I might save him in my team, because I do think that having him is good long term. And in that case I might just take a minus for hit, and I might just transfer it. Let me just do this so it resets. So if that is the case, then I think it's time for me to focus on getting a 5th midfielder instead of João Pedro as an option. So I would potentially look to add Ward-Prowse in this midfield position for this game week, and for a -4 hit I would either transfer out Ben Chilwell. For Botman I have the exact funds, or I could keep Ben Chilwell and transfer out Joao Pedro for Archer instead. That's another way that I could get these funds for their minus 4 hit, but I would only do this if James Maddison is declared fit. So those are the plans for me for this game week. Let's see, there are some cup games during this week, so hopefully there won't be any more injuries. And after the cup games, after the manager press conferences, let's see what happens, and let's see what's going to happen with James Maddison mostly and everyone else, and then I will decide what I will do with my team for GW7. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's probably a long video, lots of things to talk about. I enjoyed it, and yeah, drop a follow if you find this video interesting and useful, and I will see you guys at the next one. Have a nice day and see ya.